With us now for the Political Roundtable, contributing writer for Salon.com, Glenn Greenwald, joining the conversation. Good to have you on board.
Good to be back. Loyalties are breaking down.
Right.
Because people are talking about there's some great revitalization of conservatism. I mean, I think that's ludicrous. In 2006 and 2008, people abandoned the Republican Party in droves. They're not switching manically from conservatism to liberalism.
Right.
They're just so disenchanted with the prevailing political class that the only alternative they have is to replace something with something else. And I just want to underscore one point, which is about these labels. I mean, if you look at who actually lost in this election, it wasn't the liberals who lost. The Progressive Caucus was reelected by a rate of 95%. The people who bore the brunt of the electoral bloodbath were the Blue Dogs. 50% of the Blue Dogs. No, you were on television all night pointing to people like Russ Feingold.
Where do the liberals live?
Right. Well, you were on television.
Where do they live?
Well, for instance, Alan Grayson lives in a district that has been Republican, for decades, and you pointed to his loss as proof that liberalism fails. Why weren't you on television pointing to the loss of the Blue Dogs as proof that conservative Democrats cannot get reelected when 50% of the Blue Dog caucus disappeared overnight? Why were you pointing to the handful of liberals who lost as proof that liberalism failed? That seems like a pretty big fallacy.
Your crack staff hands out stuff that people have written before they come on the show. I'm reading this stuff that Glenn says about how he couldn't stand watching me election night.
You.
No, just me.
Not just you. You were just one example of the many people.
It's the only example we have here.
Okay, so
and what's lovely about it is there's not a single quotation mark around a single word that you say I said, and I didn't say a single thing.
Right. You didn't blame the left for Blanche Lincoln's loss because they mounted a primary challenge. You didn't point to Russ Feingold's loss as proof that liberalism got rejected when weighed between liberalism and conservatism.
I asked questions, Glenn. I did not say every single thing you accuse me of saying. I did not say.
Well, fortunately, there's a transcript. We can resolve it once we have the transcript.
Glenn, unlike you, I am not a progressive. I am not a liberal who's so afraid of the word that I had to change my name to progressive.
I'm not either.
Liberals amuse me. I am a socialist. I live to the extreme left. The extreme left of you mere liberals, okay? However, I know this about my country. Liberals are 20% of the electorate. Conservatives are 41% of the electorate, okay? So I don't pretend that my views, which would ban all guns in America, make Medicare available to all in America, have any chance of happening in the federal government, okay? You can sit there and pretend that liberals should run more liberal in conservative districts. The reason you love the loss of the Blue Dogs.
Hold on a second, Chris.
It disproves your point.
Chris, you can't go to break.
We are at 9:02.
The only way you have a Chairman Barney Frank, there's only one way. That's by electing Blue Dogs. It's the only way you have a speaker.
That is absurd, and you see the fact that
it's absurd. The Blue Dogs lost. There's no more Democratic chairman. There's no Democratic.
Had 20 Blue Dogs lost, the Democrats would still have a majority. You could have easily had in 2006 and 2008, when there was a wave election in favor of the Democratic Party, true progressives who would have supported an agenda that would have decreased unemployment by relying on Blue Dog dominance in the Democratic Party. That's how the agenda that would have reduced unemployment and brought better legislation got impeded. That was your strategy. And look at the outcome of your strategy.
Hold on a second, guys. We are 12 minutes over. What we're going to do is go to break. We're going to ask Glenn to stay after 9. We're going to record some more.
No, we're not. I got to go to the airport.
Okay. Okay, Glenn, Lawrence says that over 50% of Americans believe that the government's too big.
56%, a mere 56%.
Okay, so should the government actually be doing more?
Right, well, if you go and look at actual individual questions about policy, for example, when you ask Americans during the healthcare debate whether they want the government to create a public option that would have competed with private insurance companies, overwhelmingly Americans said that they wanted a public option rather than a purely private health insurance industry. When you ask Americans if they want the government to put greater restraints on Wall Street, overwhelmingly Americans say they want greater restraints on Wall Street. When you ask Americans if they want cuts to their Social Security and Medicare benefits, overwhelmingly Americans say they don't. So, yes, it's true that if you think on the level of cable news sloganeering, who's a liberal, who's a conservative, who wants big government, who wants small government, you can draw the kinds of conclusions that Larry O'Donnell specializes in. But when you look at substantive questions, you see that what the Democrats are doing is exactly what they shouldn't be doing. That's why
Lawrence in telling us what the voters told us. Now, I agree with you. In the polling on the public option, in which they always use the word, I've said this earlier on the show today, they always use the word Medicare. They described it as, would you like a public option like Medicare? It went as high as 80% support. I have always advocated the Democrats should have gone forward with basically a Medicare for all bill, wildly to the left of the Health Insurance Preservation Act, which is what they went for from the start. So I live wildly to the left of these Democrats who voted for that terrible, ugly monstrosity of a health care.
Well, then it negates everything you've been saying all morning.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, because you're saying that they can't, they have to go to the right, not to the left.
Before you got here, I said this thing about the public option, and that's the way they should have done it, and won or lost that vote, and they wouldn't have scared people because they would have been doing something like Medicare. Okay, that part is true. However, so I accept polling. I believe what it says. You have got to accept this exit poll that says 56% say government is doing too much, 38%.
Accept the polling that I just cited to you. What people care about is jobs. You have a job. Everybody at this table has a job. What people care about is jobs and economic security, not those cable news cartoons.
You and I
people care about jobs, Larry.
38% group. You're in a 38%. The country doesn't think what you
gather. The conversation continues. Here's the week in review.
That thinks what you think.
I just cited polling data that prove that they do.
Can you hear me? You're way over there.